I'm going to continue on this series. I know that not a lot of people have been watching it most recently. Um, so I'm just going to finish it off, wrap it up, because it's currently what I'm doing, and I need to finish the project. So I'm going to share with you the rest of it, and hopefully in the future somebody might find some interest in this video series. If you haven't already watched the previous videos, this video will make more sense if you do. So you can either watch it afterwards, or you can watch it now and then come back to this video. But yeah, if you look in my playlists, you'll see a series on a particular item or project, and the project makes more sense if you watch each consecutive video, as they're all chronological in progress. So yeah, so this is it. This is me finishing it off. I've got one base that I'm sitting on right now, getting very close to being finished. I'm putting together the other one today, and then we can move on. But you'll be seeing some big changes coming up in the future to my style of videos and the quality, the way that things are presented. In the meantime, I'm going to stick with this current format. I personally quite like it, but apparently the algorithm doesn't. So yeah, we'll just keep going, and hopefully you'll see progress and improvement with videos in the coming future. I have some really great ideas coming up for a new series. For those that have been watching eagerly to see my videos on forging of chisels, I will be putting that into process very soon. So you'll be seeing that coming up probably within the next month or so. I'll be putting those videos together. So I haven't started on that, but I'm lining up the materials to do so, and I think it's going to be quite an exciting project, and I can't wait to share the knowledge with others out there on how to forge your own chisels, which is exciting. It's an exciting thing for any stony to be able to make your own tools, and I get excited about it, even though it's something that I've learned many years ago, decades ago. It's still something that without it, what have you got if you can't make your own tools? What good is the knowledge? The ability to make your own tools is a very liberating experience, and yeah, it's just you can't compare it. So so looking forward to that, and I hope you're looking forward to it as well. So watch this space in the coming month or so. Okay, so today I'm just going to be showing you the finishing of the mitres. This is from the second base, so this is the panel from the second base. And I've just been using these diamond pads. And it's a 50 grit granite pad that I'm using, and I just put it onto the backer. Now you can get these kinds of pads off of Amazon, or order them from another website, or even straight from a retail store, wherever you are in the world. And they have different slight configurations. There's different brands, but as long as it's rated for granite, is really all that matters. And sometimes, quite frankly, I haven't actually found a really great one yet. They work, but just it's always been my beef about diamond tools. They're effective in some ways, but in other ways they just don't quite do it quite well enough. And it's very frustrating as a professional when you're left feeling like, in order to do this fast, you need modern tools, but none of the modern tools are really doing it all that well. And so you end up having to kind of do a hybrid in everything that you do. A little bit of handwork and a little bit of power tools, because the power tools inevitably always end up leaving behind a bit of a mess. And when I say a mess, when it comes to granite, they have a tendency to overheat if they're not lubricated, even just slightly. What ends up happening is it ends up changing the nature of the granite. It actually makes it kind of glass-like. Makes it extremely hard, and then the diamond tools won't even dig in anymore. And it leaves blotchy, darkened texture, which is really the last thing that you want when you're just trying to do a simple hone or polish on the granite. So it's always been my beef, but we use them because diamonds are obviously hard, and we use whatever we can that is commercially available. But it's always been something that I've been baffled. And if you are in the granite industry, I would love to know if you have a preferred brand or type of diamond pad that you would. So this is what I've been using, and I'll do it dry just to begin with, because once it's wet you can't really see the effect. But I don't know if you can make that out, but the mitre, it isn't right to the very face. As you can see, it's not entirely straight, and it's still got, I guess you could say if that was in metric, that would be a good mill. Metric rule with me right now, but yeah, a good 3/16 of an inch, or equivalent to the flat side of this pad here, worth of glue being seen, which is not desirable. So you want to get that down to as thin as possible, and this is the way that I prefer. I like being hands-on and just having full control. If you've got a good pad, this pad is a little worn, but it's still got some life to it. And yeah, so this is just how I'm doing it. Pretty simple, but just in case anybody was wondering, the process from cutting it, because you can see this is the cut that I made with the actual angle grinder and the diamond blade. It was, it's a clean cut. It's fully acceptable for a hand cut, but it gets to the point where you still need to just sweeten it up just in that little bit more. And this is a great way of doing it. Now you can probably hear that the diamonds don't bind in quite as well as you'd like. If that's the case, you can lubricate it, cool it down, because I do believe that the action of the diamonds across the face somehow changes the nature of the actual material when you're using them dry. So if it starts to get a little bit tough, you can just add water to it, and that will allow you to cut through with a bit of pressure. But I find that all quartz-based materials behave very similarly. Once they're overheated, they can become extremely tough, and so you want to try and prevent them from overheating. You can see that as I work it in, it's closer and closer to the edge. And because I've already undercut this mitre more than 45 degree angle, once you've cleaned in this lead edge, there's still enough room for the glue. So if both pieces are cut stronger at a sharper angle than 45, when they're brought together, even after working in the lead edge, there's still enough room for glue in behind. And that's why we always undercut mitres. You never want to cut just a 45 degree angle, because then there'll be no room for glue. So when you do this, if you spend a bit of time working in the lead edge, in theory, you can get a mitre that rivals any modern shop using a water jet processing. It's a lot of work, but it's not impossible. And there's one thing to doing work, cutting them. It's one advantage of cutting things by hand that you will never get with a CNC process, is the intelligence and control of a cut. The machine can't think its way through things. A human can. And when you're in control of your own hands, and your mind is in control of that, it's so much more efficient, and the results are far greater than any computer-aided process to date. The only advantage that they have is that the stream of water can get much thinner than a blade. There's a few tricks that actually allow a person to get results even superior to any water jet. And a lot of people, if you know anything about the stone industry, and if you are in the stone industry, are probably pulling your hair out right now and saying that's impossible. And it's a lot of work, but it is possible. Well, whenever you're working with stone, first thing you need to do is throw impatience out the door and close it behind, because you have to have patience with stone. You know, it's put everything into perspective. This granite formed billions of years ago, and we can't find enough time in our lives to do a good job. It's a bit silly, isn't it? See what I did with all the mitres, and so it's not a fast process, but you know, for the sake of you know, a few dollars for these pads, you know, one of these kits, you can get a kit of all the grits that allow you to actually polish granite for, you know, in around $50 Canadian. I can't say what that would be in other currencies, but just to give it a reference, it's you know, it's an affordable thing, and you just screw this onto any grinder. And I would recommend that if you are going to use a grinder, always use a variable speed grinder, ideally one that has a very slow RPM. And we have two variable speed grinders currently, and the one that is the nicest to use on this is actually the cheapest one, ironically, but it allows the pad to slow down to almost a crawl, where the minute you touch it to the material, it almost stops. That's ideal. You want the ability to slow it right down to control it. So yeah, that's all I can say is to source an angle grinder that has a variable speed, the lowest speed being in the range of 300 to 400 RPMs, is the, you know, these are the kind of the optimal speeds for these pads. And if you can't find an angle grinder that has those, the other option is to get a they often sell them as variable speed car polishers, and basically they look like an angle grinder, but they have the same size threaded shaft as an angle grinder, or the arbor, I guess you'd call it. Yeah. So that's the other option. And yeah, for years that's all that we used was those variable speed car polishers. They don't last as long, and so you end up going through a lot more of them if you're doing a lot of this kind of work. But yeah, they work fantastic, and you can get those speeds right down. So that, yeah, those are just the tips that I have for them when it comes to honing, polishing stone in general. And yeah, so you just do this to all the faces, and then you can go through the same process that I showed you in the last video about putting them together. So I just wanted to backtrack just to cover that, so that I haven't left out those details. Okay, so this is the first base that I showed you when I was putting it together, and this is it, actually all dry fit together in the shop. So this gives you an idea of where I'm at. I'm still working on the cap. It's not exactly finished the way that I want it, but this is roughly how it's all going to look. I want that fillet just a little bit stronger, but it gives you the idea of how it's all coming together. And a few days ago, I cored the hole out for the electrics, and the lamp base, which is roughly about it's an octagon, but it's roughly about 9 inches, I believe. I don't have the bolt pattern just yet, but I will have to drill some holes for the bolts as well. But yeah, so it gives you the idea of how it's all coming together. I think it's looking quite good. It's you know, I think from a distance you wouldn't guess that it's made out of 3 different types of granite from probably 3 different countries. I think it looks quite good, and I don't think that it's going to be an issue. So yeah, so this is the tool that I used to core it out, and it's just a 2-inch core bit, diamond core bit, and I put it onto a variable speed Bosch grinder. So you can put these will fit onto drills as well. They have an attachment that you can thread into this and put it onto a drill, which is something that we'd used for years with core bits. And it was only just recently that it occurred to me that I could put it onto a grinder. And it's funny how you should know these things, but anyways, yeah, it's actually so much better, so much easier to control. It's a better, you know, it's closer to the work surface, so it gets you really great results, and cuts through it in no time with a lot of water. So that's the key for any core bits, is just lots of water. But just thought I'd share that with you if you want to, you know, bore a hole in granite. Um, you know, that's the ensemble that you can use, and it's if you've already got the tool, then it's makes it quite affordable way of doing it. So just thought I'd share that.